Hello. This is my top 10 favorite games of all time. This is very subject to change because as time goes on, my tastes change. I mean, I'm looking at this list that I very haphazardly made. I wanted to make a list of things that I could physically show you, but there's maybe 3 or 4 on here I could physically show you, which kind of disappointed me. But hopefully, and I'll look at this in the future and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I still like those games, and hopefully it'll be very little of, why would I pick that game? That game is horrible. That game is the worst thing in my entire life. Um, so yeah, here's my top 10. I guess I should go downwards. I just realized that just now. I was like, oh, man, I should probably go backwards rather than go from the best to the... Okay, so number 10, oh, also, this, besides, like, the first, or number 1 and number 2, for the most part, I'd say 10 to 5 are kind of in no particular order, but they are, you know what I mean. I'm not that difficult of a person, I think. So number 10 is Digimon World, the PS1 game. I have the disc, but I don't have the case, and that's what I wanted to show. I'd be like, ooh, look at that. I love this game, even though amongst a couple other games on here, I have never beaten. I have gotten pretty far in the game, but I couldn't get past one part, and then I tried playing it again like maybe a year ago, and then I stopped. I should, you know what, I think, because right now I'm getting a little motivation, and there'll probably be a running theme here. Well, I'm getting a little motivation. Maybe I'll play that after this video. But it's really neat because it's almost like Pokemon, how Pokemon is now. Because it's very simple to figure out the basics, but it's so hard to be good at it. It's easy to play it, but it's so hard to be good at it, I feel, because you can be at the top, and you're like, yeah! And then your Digimon dies, and you're like, or at least, that's my experience every time. I've looked up guides and like, oh yeah, my Digimon lasted this long, and it's like, how do you get them to last that long? Once my Digimon go to Champion, I'm like, oh, I gotta be careful now. They're gonna die in like 10 days. I better get stuff done. But I love the game so much. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's I love the battle music a lot because it's like. I actually don't. I know that first part, but I don't think that's how it goes. So number 9 is Kingdom Hearts. Now I had to pick one, which at first was really was kind of hard, but then I was like, you know what? I kind of really enjoyed this one over other ones, and I played it more. Although, like the other one, I didn't completely finish it yet. But it's Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Of all the Kingdom Hearts games, I think I played this one the most, or at least played it the most often. That could obviously be because there's 3 scenarios, and I heard there's a 4th one, but I haven't. I've played Terra first, and then, after all my feels, I played Aqua, which was pretty enjoyable. Not as many feels, but it was kind of... I felt like I should have went the opposite route, actually. I should have gone Ventus, who is the one I haven't beaten yet, and then Aqua, and then Terra, because Terra's the one that you're like, oh, that's... oh... And now that I'm playing like the other ones, I'm like, guys, you don't understand! In fact, out of the 3, Aqua's feels like the one that's least, like, attached. No, you know what? I remember I was playing this not long ago, and I kept saying, if they just listen to Aqua, if they just listen to Aqua, if they just listen to Aqua, none of this would have happened. Well, it's plotline, I guess. But I really enjoyed that game so much. So, number 8, Katamari Damacy. I've beaten this game hundreds of times. Or, I guess not hundreds. Maybe 5 times at most. But I mean, anyone who's played this completely understands why this is on my list. It's such a light-hearted game, you know. It's so fun and it's 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 just a wonderful game. And on my computer, I have I guess when it comes right down to it, it's a ripoff of Katamari Damacy. It's called The End of the World or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but you're like a goddess who controls this weird wind golem or something, and the wind golem's practically like Katamari. Um, it's okay, but it's a lot harder to figure out what you can and cannot pick up, as well as the music is not there. It was enjoyable, but mostly the entire time I was playing, I was like, man, I really wish I was playing Katamari Damacy. I played the Katamari Damacy game that was on the 360. I don't recall which one it was. All I know is that, gosh, those games are so good. If like just beat the game, it's not really hard, but to beat the game well and get high scores and whatnot, it gets really tricky. But I love that game. So number 7 is The Walking Dead. This one was kind of a newer game. It came out last year, the year before that. I think it came out, I don't know. And obviously, actually, I wanted to get the collector's edition when it came out at GameStop, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I've played that, and I think this is like Katamari Damacy in the sense that anyone who's played it understands my feelings as to why it's on this list. It's just such a good story. I'll agree that it's not. Gosh, what's the word? It's not like a game where I'm like, oh man, I just want to play this game because I love playing this game. I play this game because I'm like, oh man. It's like watching a movie, you know, like a really long movie. It's riveting. Yeah, you know, in a sense, you kind of know what happens because you're the one controlling it. But it's still kind of neat. I love that storytelling. And I'm looking forward to the next season, so that's cool. So number 6 is the kind of iffy one, because I can't pick which one, because it's kind of like my nostalgia versus what's now, and they're both not very similar games, but they're both grid-based, turn-based RPG games. So yeah, I guess they are very similar. And they're both the third of their installment, which is wonderful. So number 6 is kind of a tie between Arc the Lad 3 as well as Disgaea 3. So Disgaea is a really, really goofy game. It's fourth wall breaking all the time. Well, not all the time, but most of the time. They're completely aware of like the system in the game because they're all like, "Man, you're not level 1,000,000, and let me steal your title. You now have the title of a slave or whatever." And out of the Disgaea games, I've beaten 2 and 3. I'm playing 4, and I haven't gotten very far in 1. But of all the 4, I'd say number 3 I've had the most fun with. And I don't know, it's just, it had a little fun. Now, Arc the Lad 3, it's not dark. It may as well be dark in comparison, but it's not dark. It's like a normal RPG kind of style game in terms of, oh, we gotta go save the world. But there's just a lot of really neat characters in that game, and some nice, just that whole series, but number 3 was the one I played first, and I haven't played it in a long time, now that I'm thinking about it. And I don't have a lot of, now, I wonder why I put this on the list, because I can't recall a lot about this game, actually. I remember really enjoying it back when I first got it, but I can't recall much beyond that. So, number 5, and this is where things start to become more where it needs to be, rather than just slapped it wherever the hell I did. So number 5 is Guardians Crusade. This is a very, not underground, but very not very well known game. And I actually have a copy of it over here. Guardians Crusade. This game, it plays like it's a turn-based RPG. So I don't know. It's the one thing I loved about it is the music, the art style. I mean, I love the polygons of the PlayStation 1. That was just my thing. But this game is just, in terms of other Final Fantasy or other RPGs in general, it's just so lighthearted, I guess. I mean, even the monsters looked adorable half the time. You're like, and there are a few like feel moments, but I don't know. I just really enjoy this game. And instead of like having summons like normal RPGs, like where you summon a huge beastly monster, they have living toys, and you summon those, and some of them stay in battle with you. Some of them are one-time use during battle, and then some you can only use outside of the battle. Like there's one that opens the map, and there's one that teleports you to town and stuff like that. There's just some, and they're all really unique. Gosh, this is such a unique game. So number 4, I don't have the copy of this with me, but Psychonauts. And much like some of the other games, if anyone's played this, they know why this is on my list. It's just a beautifully crafted game. The gameplay, some people do say that the gameplay is kind of bad, but I don't really feel that. I felt it was broken to a very fair point, I guess would be a horrible way of saying it. Now that I said it, I regret it. But I understand where it has flaws, but I don't feel that they're big enough flaws for them to be anything beyond, like, oh, that happened. Okay, whatever. But just the whole environment of it all, just all these characters that have, like, unique personalities, and they're all just really goofy, and you're like, oh, man, I really, like, after you finish a mission or something, or finish something storyline-wise, you like, oh, I gotta go talk to that guy. I want to see what else he has to say now, because usually they move around and say different stuff, and you're like, oh, I gotta see what that guy has to say. I gotta see what she says. I gotta find out what happened here. And on top of that is the worlds inside the head. I mean, I think everyone could really agree. My favorite, and I hate being the guy who's just like everyone else, but gosh, I love the Milkman level. It can be really tough sometimes, but gosh, that level is so just wonderful. Besides that, I love the Lungfish level. That one's a really good level. Really, like, all the crazy people towards the end, like the second half of the game, all of their minds are really fun. And in my opinion, the last quote-unquote boss was the last level, because the last boss was kind of easy, didn't really have that huge, like, scary feel to it, but the last level was, like, crazy hard. I mean, it took me, like, many, many tries to beat it. And, oh, it was a test of my skill. So that's a great game, and if I had it, I'd probably be playing it right now. So number 3 is Final Fantasy IX. Now, I said a little bit about Final Fantasy earlier, and there's, like, a really weird community with Final Fantasy fan base, but it seems that Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VII are, like, the main big ones that people kind of are divided with. I hear Final Fantasy IX's kind of amongst there, but I don't think it's up there as much. But the reason why because 7 introduced me to the series. I didn't know anything about RPGs at all until Final Fantasy VII. And I really love the Materia system in Final Fantasy VII. That's my favorite system of Final Fantasy games, period. But at Final Fantasy IX, just the flow of how everything goes. The music is wonderful. I mean, I listen to some of that music on a daily basis. The characters are just great. The storyline is just kind of touching at times, as well as like, oh no! I don't know, and it's got a very final... Oh gosh. What do they call Final Fantasy? It's got a very fantasy feel to it. It feels very magical, I guess. 7 didn't feel as magical, in my opinion. It felt very industrial, which I think they were kind of going for, but but I feel that number 9 felt it felt like Final Fantasy. And gosh, do I love that game. That game is, I don't know, I could play that game hundreds of times, and it always feels very fresh and enjoyable. Now, number 1 and number 2, for the longest time in my life, were side by side as tied for number 1. And the now number 2, I couldn't play for a while because the disc my copy wasn't working. And I got a new copy recently, and I played the game through, and although I did enjoy it like nothing else, I finally felt that, okay, I think I like this game more, but number 2 is Mega Man Legends 2, and number 1 is Mega Man Legends 1. Now, this might seem kind of contrived and stupid, but they are different. I've played them far too many times to not know the difference between the two games. The main issue I had while playing Final Fantasy Mega Man Legends 2. I'm doing really good. Let me take a quick sip. The main difference between the two Mega Man Legends games is that Mega Man Legends 2 felt a little harder, but almost not in a fair way. The main issue I had while playing it again was the fact that in Mega Man Legends, Final Legends Mega Man Fantasy 2, is that there was status effects. There's like 4 of them, and all of them can really fuck up your day. And I don't know, I died a few times while playing Mega Man Legends 2, but I could breeze through Mega Man Legends 1 because I'm like, oh, there's an item over here. After you do this part, go over here because there's a side quest you can do and get some really good items. But for Mega Man Legends 2, I feel has more songs that I like than Mega Man Legends 1. And the number 1 is Mega Man Legends 1, which just both of them have such a great art. I just love the world, I guess. And I don't have the original copies of them because they're really expensive. Well, they're not really expensive, but it's this was much cheaper, and it doesn't have the same nostalgic value, but I look at these and I still get happy and excited. So here's my copies of Mega Man Legends 1 and 2. And I don't have a book for Mega Man Legends 1 because I'm really cool like that. But I'm just looking at this cover and I'm like, man, the adventures I had. The adventures I had in this game are like none other. The music, sometimes, like when you're in the ruins, there's times where you're just like, oh, I don't know, man, this place is so dreary and dark. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. And then as you're walking, there's huge reaver bots like slamming down, chasing you, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can make it, dude. But then you do, and you're just like, I think everything's going to be okay. And so that's my top 10, and in terms of all of those games, I could pretty much talk maybe about 5 of them for like a whole day, and then the other 5 I could talk a total of them for, especially Mega Man Legends 1 and 2. I could talk about that forever. I try my best to stop myself before I get too far into that. I mean, anyone who knows anything about what Capcom's doing with Mega Man Legends 3 knows what I'm talking about. So that's my top 10, and I hope you were still awake for this part of the video, and if not, well, I can't do anything because this happened, who knows, maybe even days, weeks, years since you've watched this, so who knows, I don't know, I'm probably dead by now.